Hey everyone, you're listening to Sports Star Talk Time, and my name is Shyam Vasudevan. I hope all of you listening are doing well and are safe during this coronavirus lockdown. So, we're trying to keep you connected to the world of sport with our lineup of exclusive interviews and live chat sessions. We caught up with legendary Indian footballer Bhaichung Bhutia a little while ago in an Instagram live session. And Mr. Bhaichung spoke about a variety of topics from his debut for East Bengal when he was aged just 16 to going on to represent their arch rivals Mohun Bagan later in his career. Bhaichung also spoke about how he played for Beauty FC, which made him only the first Indian footballer to play for an English club. We also discussed the evolution of Indian football over the last few years and how Bhaichung Bhutia now harbors ambitions of becoming the All India Football Federation's president. For all of this and a lot more interesting content, do listen in. I have a feeling you're going to really like this one.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
All well. How are you coping with the lockdown? How is it to be indoors?
It's been good so far. Been doing a bit of exercise, been doing a lot of new things. So yeah, it's been. Yeah.
We also obviously have a bit of unfortunate news. We heard that legendary Kumar has passed away earlier this year.
Yes.
Probably would you like to say a few words about him?
I think I did just hear about the news of Mr. Chunni Goswami. So it's indeed a big loss for Indian football, and he was an icon. And I think our generation and our father's generation would know what Chunni Goswami had contributed to Indian football. And I had also a great opportunity to work with him. He was, I think, a manager with the team long time ago. He's never coached the clubs, though he was regular in Mohun club as one of the main official when I was playing there. So had a lot of interaction. And it's very sad. I hope his soul rests in peace. It's been a very sad week, in fact, for India, with two great Bollywood actors, Rishi Kapoor today and Irfan Khan yesterday. So may their soul also rest in peace.
So, yes. Do you have any anecdote or any particular memory with Mr. Chunni Goswami that you'd like to share with us?
We've not toured as a team together, but I've had a lot of meeting, chats, long chats with him in the club in East Bengal, in Mohun Bagan when he was one of the directors there. So, and not been so much because he's not been, on the ground as coach, or he's been very, active after his retirement coaching. So that we've not been able to, do not have so much of interaction.
Right. And you spoke of Irfan and Rishi Kapoor also passing away yesterday. Were either of them your favorite actors? Were you very fond of them?
Rishi Kapoor, we've grown up watching him. He was an fashion icon in those days when we were growing up. His sweaters and all those movies, Khel Me. We used to wait for Sunday evening in that Doordarshan for that movie to come in. And if it was Rishi Kapoor, obviously would love to watch him. And his combination those days with, I think, Rakesh Roshan, Khel Me, and a lot of other movies as well was fantastic. And obviously, yes, Irfan Khan is one of the greatest actors, no doubt.
Alright, sir, let's move to football now. So I would like to begin by asking you, from the beginning of your career, how was it for a 16-year-old Bhaichung Bhutia to walk in to the East Bengal dressing room? I think you were the youngest at that point. What was it like to walk into the at 16 years?
Very excited. In fact, I just given my ICSE exams, and straight after the last exam, I flew down to Calcutta with my uncle, and I landed up, and I was very excited. When is the next day gonna come? Because next day was the training to start. And I went into East Bengal club inside the dressing room, and the first person, because nobody had come that time, I was a bit early. But the first person inside the dressing room I met was two Nigerian footballers, Chima Okorie and Christopher. And they looked like solid, big, huge, muscular, 6 feet, some great giants. And I was like, what the hell, I'm going to be playing with these guys. Though I'd seen Chima play and Christopher play before. But really looking at them without their t-shirt on in the dressing room with that muscle coming out was a bit scary. then later on, slowly, I think a lot of the other local Indian players started coming. And then seeing the figure and body, I thought, okay, maybe I can try it. Because the rest were not so big, bulky like the Nigerian players. It was all right.
But how did your exams go before your time with East Bengal?
The last two paper went badly, but I still managed to just pass because for me studies was just getting 40%. So I wasn't like looking at anything great. So I just managed to get at least 40+% in the last two papers. So exams went all right. I did pass.
So you spent a lot of your career, majority of your career playing with East Bengal. I think close to 5 occasions you played with them now. So which one would you rate as your favorite season with them?
The favorite season with East Bengal, no doubt, would be the Asian winning team. I think that, I'm not too sure what year was that exactly, but we had a great team that year. We went on to win the I-League, and we were the first club from India to win a tournament outside South Asia. And that time we played finals against a Thai club called Becter, who was also one of the best clubs in Asia. Then they had just gone to AFC Champions League finals. So, yeah, that year was the best. I think, I'm not too sure which year is it, but Asian and the I-League.
Probably you're also among the few players who played for both East Bengal and Mohun Bagan. And I mean, the rivalry is well known. It's known worldwide. So what was it like to play for both teams? And did you face any hostility or, cold shoulders when you switched teams?
Oh, I had a nightmare time because, I did not change the club when I was playing in India. So I kept playing with East Bengal. Then I moved 1 year with JCT, then came back and then went to England. So once I finished my contract with England, so returning back was then that was the opportunity, I could go to Mohun Bagan because during that season time going was a little difficult, so I had that chance. So I was still inclined to come and join East Bengal, but that particular year I thought, why if this is the best time, because there's been a break of 3-4 years, so maybe come back and start with Mohun Bagan. But because I had come back from England also injured, and then coming and joining Mohun Bagan that year, and with not so fit, with injury, the season just didn't go well. And I had nightmare time from Mohun Bagan fans, and I had nightmare time from East Bengal fans, because East Bengal fans said you ditched us, and then Mohun Bagan fans said, you played so well with East Bengal, now you're coming here, you play horrible and all that. So I had a nightmare time. So, but then after a year, I went back to East Bengal and then had a good season. Then later on again, I came back to Mohun Bagan when I was fit. And then I think after that, 3-4 years, had a great year with Mohun Bagan as well.
But do you remember any one instance with the fans that was perhaps scary?
No, I used to go to any shop around and they used to look at me. So, and because of injury, I was not having great season with Mohun Bagan as well. So if the shopkeeper was a East Bengal fan, he just did not entertain me and, did not give me anything, whatever I wanted. And if he was Mohun Bagan fan as well, other shop guy also did not entertain, like went to buy fish or some chicken in the market. They just did not try and give you the best piece of meat or best piece of chicken there. So, that you could really see it.
But of course, you spoke about JCT. What was that like to play for JCT and win the NFL back then? Win the NFL with them. That was probably quite cool. You were with Mr. Vision.
Yeah. So I think JCT. Year before as well, they had all the good players signed there. Joe Paul, Carlton Chapman, I'm Bijayan. So they were already there for a year. And obviously there was huge talk about JCT making a dream team. And they were really building a great team. And I did not join them initially 1 year. I still stayed back with East Bengal. So the second year, then once they made a good team, they were winning a lot of tournaments. And then I spoke to East Bengal officials. The kind of offer I was getting from JCT, if they could match, I still wanted to stay in East Bengal. But then East Bengal said, we can't match the offer at least this year. Why don't you go? And I still remember it was the East Bengal main person was Poltuda. So I said, if you can match it, because I've always played with East Bengal, I've not looked at the financial aspect. So this time I said, it's a big difference. So can you match it? He said, no, don't worry, you can go for a year. So then I left for GCT. But we had a great team. And luckily that was the first time Indian football came into cable channels. Star Sports showed it. The first National League happened when I was in JCT, and luckily I had a great team to play with, and we had a great season in JCT. Sadly, we just stayed for a year. We all after 1 year of great year winning the National League, so everybody went to different clubs. Very unfortunate.
That's after that is when you moved to Bury, right? You moved to England.
Yeah. No, after that I came back to East Bengal for a year and a half, I think. I moved to England in 99. So I was in East Bengal in 97, 98. So I think 1 or 2 years I went on to play for East Bengal, yes.
And talk us of the times that led to Bury. What was it like to apply? Obviously, you tried for a few other clubs as well, including Fulham and stuff. But how was it to be only the second footballer to play in Europe and the first Indian to play for an English club? What was that like for you?
It was all right because I was looking at a bigger club and better club. Though I had a trial with Aston Villa, which was obviously very difficult, but that was just for an experience. I went in mid December, but after that I went 6 months later on during the summertime, prepared well. I had a good trial with Fulham, and in fact my trials with West Brom went very well. West Bromwich Albion. So I was hoping that something's going to click there, but sadly, during the pre-season time, they released their manager West Brom, and things were looking good, and they released it. So an entire thing collapsed, and that's how Bury was there. I went there, and then it worked out. It was in a way I was very excited and happy, looking forward to the challenge. But in a way, I was hoping that it could have been a Fulham or a West Brom Albion, which was a little bigger club, was what I was looking at. But overall, I think I still thought it's a great way to test myself and as a player to develop. That was the only way to challenge yourself as a player. So I took that challenge.
But did you go to Bury with an intention of looking to remain in Europe and play in Europe? Was that the bigger picture in mind?
That was the intention, yes. To start even with very second division and then maybe do well, and then you can grow as a player. That was the right advice I got, and that was the right thing I thought at that moment. But I did join them mid-season, which was challenging again, because when you're going to play a team in Europe and you join them in mid-season, when your fitness level, you've just been waiting for your work permit to come, and then play a catch-up thing. When you catch up with the team, then your season ends. Then again you start again. So that happened first year. The second season went off quite well. And the third season was supposed to go very well. I had a great pre-season score, played very well. I was top scorer in entire pre-season. I had a great game against Man U, Manchester United in pre-season. But sometimes it does not work. So third game of the season, I had my knee injury, which I was out for 6 months. With the Queen's Park Rangers we had played. So got injured there, then I was out for 6 months. So that was end of my Europe thing.
But did you ever, have an intention of going back? Of course, you came back and joined Bagan. But did you also give trials after that again and try to go back?
No, I did not. I did not really look at going back to England. I did feel that if I can again, try, then maybe smaller countries where, the kind of football I would want to play, the kind of team I would want to, play with was something which I was thinking. But then the ASEAN happened, and then there was an offer from Malaysian club. So I went to play in Malaysia after that for a year.
But what was it that you saw between Indian football and European football at that time? Like, how different was the setup, and how, in terms of professionality, in terms of equipment, in terms of access, in terms of the ice baths and everything, just how different was the whole thing?
No, I think it's completely different in terms of infrastructure, the environment, the culture. It's totally different. Yes, I think in terms of players, I think Indian players are equally good. Obviously, they need from the grassroots itself, they need a lot of competitions, they need right coaches, they need right kind of knowledge as well. But you go to a club like Bury in second division, we had around 5-6 training grounds of our own with a gym. Today, you look at some of the clubs even in ISL, which has got so much money in that. None of the clubs have their own training facilities of their own. So that and also the investment in grassroots, because all the clubs depended on youth development, because that's how they generate revenue. And that was the main focus of every club around Europe, focuses on getting young, bright talent, groom them, and then make them into a star, and then maybe sell them, and and that's how the club survives. But that culture and that system still yet to come in India. I think it will slowly come now. So those kind of things, and even players' mentality to being professional was quite different.
Whole different ball game.
Absolutely.
But we have some fan questions to you. We've got one question from a fan saying, there was a time when the Goan clubs challenged the Bengal clubs, and we saw Churchill and Tempo coming to the top. But somewhere the latter have struggled. What do you think? What is your take on this?
No, I think there was a moment when Goan clubs were doing really well, and again, it's in football, in Indian football during those days, the players kept shifting, and it was also the financial aspect of it. So a lot of players also looked into, obviously any player who's playing professional would look into the livelihood of theirs, So a lot of good players then signed and went to clubs in Goa, and Tempo was one of the clubs that was playing very well. Salgokas was another club that was doing well. Churchill's in between. So, so that phase had come, like how JCT came for 2-3 seasons, paid well, So that phase was coming around. So I think Goan clubs was very, very well managed. Especially they were managed by all corporates. Salgokas and Tempos are very well corporate run company. So I think the players were looked after. They're very, very happy, and that's how they managed to do well. But sadly, I think since it was a corporate team, they did not get that kind of fan following and fan crazy as what other clubs, especially what East Bengal Mohun has got. So that was, I think, a challenging part for them.
We also have another question from Ms. Vijay Lokapalli. How do you think the coronavirus will affect Indian football? Post the coronavirus, how does it affect?
I don't think it's going to affect much. If it depends on if the vaccine or the cure is going to happen, but I don't see it affecting much. In fact, if India, the way we handled coronavirus right now, and if the season was on right now in next 2-3 weeks, I think we would have captured a lot of I think the television and the digital platform of the market, because right now you don't have any football on television, and I'm sure that a lot of these European leagues are fighting to get back soon, because that's where the market is going to be. And Germany is, I think, one country that's trying to bring the league as soon as possible, at least without fans as well. So I think this was a time as well for Indian football, if the way we've been able to handle the coronavirus and things have got a little better in next 2-3 weeks. We should have played, matches without the fans, because everybody's locked up and everybody's trying to find something new. You just get bored watching television, seeing the same news, giving same thing. How many people have died? How many people have been infected? You just get bored and you just don't want to watch the new television as well after some time. And a lot of entertainment, a sports channel, they show you what you've already seen, live matches. They're showing the repeat of classic matches. So if there was something live right now, especially Indian football, I think it could have captured a good market. But sadly for Indian football right now is towards the end of the season. So it's an off season anyway. So once the football scene comes to India, without the coronavirus as well, we would have come back only in September, October. So I think by then it might be much better. So let's hope we can do better.
Right. We just have 2 more fan questions and we continue with our discussion. So one question is, we've spoken about the JCT season, which was the first televised season on Stars. How do you see football broadcasting evolving over the last 23 odd years?
I think it's grown quite a lot. Uh, I think it was first was the National Football League that started in 97, 98. And that was, I think, such a super hit because, as I said again, you did not have live matches. Then 97, 98, we could not watch European leagues, Premier League, La Liga. Only I think World Cup if World Cup came, then we could have watched in once in 4 years. So the market for Indian football was huge that time, and that's how I think it really picked up. And slowly, I think with a lot of European leagues coming on television, it did hamper a bit. But I think the television right now obviously plays a major role because the number of kids playing football today and 20 years ago is I think 10 or 20 times more because I run a football schools, Bhaichung Bhutia football schools. The amount of kids coming to play and train is in huge numbers, and you're seeing kids from different section. Before it was only about 99% of the kids from poorer section played football. But now you look at football. It's kids from well-to-do family, and all section of kids are playing, and it's a fun game to watch as well. Today, football is 90 minutes. It's tough. It's if you play as well, it teaches you way of life. It teaches you to be a team man. Teaches you how to work with the team, take the defeat and the victory in a nice way. So that's I think football really teaches you much more than just a sport as well. So it's really grown, and with ISL obviously showing live, I think the kids are now getting to see a lot of Indian footballers as well. Though a lot of kids are still watching a lot of European football, which is also fine. And with that, if they get influence and then come to the ground and start playing, for us, it's a win-win situation. So our main thing is with television showing a lot of football, especially Indian football and the world football, we want more kids to come and start playing. That is the most important thing.
Now, I have to ask you when it comes to women football, which is your favorite club? What is the one club that you have?
My favorite club has been Arsenal because from the days, Dennis Bergkamp, Patrick Vieira, from those days I've been a big fan. Arsene Wenger as a coach. So yeah, from those days, the way they've played, I think beautiful football. Though sadly lately they've not been doing so well. But I've followed Arsenal and been a fan of Arsenal.
You're a Guna.
Yeah.
All right. So you're as much as a son of Bengal as you are of Sikkim. What was your fondest memory of playing at the Maidan or in Kolkata?
Well, I think the experience and the love and the passion you'd never get to experience anywhere else in the world. Not anywhere else in the world. I think football for Kolkata and for Bengal is life because people don't know about the history of Mohun Bagan East Bengal. These clubs are not. It's not club. It's their religion. Is their identity. The Mohun Bagans are the Bengalis who've been in Bengal and they call themselves original Bengalis. And East Bengalis are the ones who are supposed to come later on from Bangladesh. So it's their identity as well. And the amount of passion they have and the love they have for the club, it's not just club, it's their own identity. So they fight for their identity, and which is a very prestigious thing. So, you don't get that experience anywhere. And not many clubs around the world has got that kind of passionate fans and fan following and love for the club. Sadly, I think the clubs needs to do much more. Especially the officials of both the clubs will have to try and become more professional because football is changed over the years. And if you don't change it, then you're going to stay where you are. And it's exactly with Indian football as well. The world is changed and we've stayed to 60s, 70s, what glorious years we had. We've not really changed with the time. So that's where we've been lacking behind. So I think it's important for both the clubs to change with the time and bring in, because even the game on the field is changed so much. But management, I think you've got to change and be professional and be with the time.
At this juncture, I'd like to ask you, what is your take on the ATK Bagan merger? You think that was a step in the right direction?
I think for Mohun Bagan, it is I think for the right direction, but it all depends on how ATK is going to utilize it, because Mohun Bagan, I've been speaking to the officials. They've been struggling financially in terms of sponsorship and all that. So they needed some investors to come in. But ATK, they already have a club there. So now when they buy or merge Mohun Bagan, then what are they taking? I think they're taking the identity and the history and the legacy. That I think should be utilized to the maximum, because ATK has done well in ISL, but despite doing well as well, we've not. The fact is they've not had the kind of fan following what Mohun Bagan East Bengal has been having in the ground. So and that's very important, because your club is going to run through your fans, your hardcore supporters, your love, people who really love the club, and that's how club survives. And if ATK can't utilize Mohun Bagan with this merger well, then I think it'll be a waste of money, because we've just seen what has happened with Quest and East Bengal. They've just not been able to work properly. They've not had professional people running it. They've not had professional people managing it with the tie-up. And now I think both are, having wars with each other. So if ATK, though ATK, I think the management, I know them very well. I've worked with them for a year. Mr. Sanjeev Goenka is thoroughly a professional man, and he's grown up in Kolkata, so he knows Mohun Bagan East Bengal's history and legacy. But if he doesn't utilize that, then I think it's going to be a big waste.
Also, a lot of rumors suggesting, a lot of talk that East Bengal also wants to join the ISL. Would you be in favor of something like that happening this season?
I would definitely want East Bengal to play the top league. Yes, if ISL is the top league, yes, they need to. But at the same time, let's not forget, even ISL requires East Bengal and East Bengal requires ISL. Today Spanish league can't do without Real Madrid and Barcelona, and Barcelona, Real Madrid can't do without Spanish La Liga. So for me, I think it's a win-win situation for both the parties. And if not this year, somewhere down the line, East Bengal is bound to play the top league. If it's in ISL, East Bengal is bound to play. If not this year, maybe in 4 years, 5 years, 10 years time, because we've already seen Mr. Praful Patel, All India Football Federation President, announcing that next 2-3 years we're going to have a promotion from I-League. The winners of I-League is going to play ISL. So in few years, if not automatically, through the I-League as well, East Bengal can go in. But as I said, for football to do well and ISL to do well, they require East Bengal, Mohun Bagan. They require that kind of rivalry. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult for everyone.
We have a question from Suresh Krishnan, who says, what do you feel is lacking in Indian football? Is it skill or strength?
I think the basic thing that's lacking in Indian football is the culture of football in India. We need to create that culture, and that is the most important thing. If you compare India to South American countries, similar style. We've got the weather-wise, infrastructure-wise, facilities-wise. Look at Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, Argentina. Similar. But what is the difference there? The kids there, are passionate about football. Every small place, area they get, they're just playing any kind of ball, from socks to any, torn football. In small areas they get in a park, they're playing 4x4, 3x3. Street football is so big. And it's not anything, it's just a passion for the kids to come and play. And that really teaches you more than anything else till the age of 10, 11, 12. That street football, trying to get out of situation when you're crowded in that, comes from those street football and the culture and the passion. Today, you look at the best strikers, best forward lines in the world. Most of them, 99% of the players come from South America. And what are their qualities? They have that natural instinct, and that's not taught by coaches. Messi to come out of that situation where 4 players are surrounding, or a Sanchez or a Pele or a Maradona to come out. These things are not taught. These things you've been doing from the time you grow up. That's where they have that magical touch and the thought and the brains to come out. Whereas in Europe, if you do that, you'll have a European player, when you're in that situation, they'll pass the ball and give you the speech, which is also good. But the South Americans will go do the trick and come out of that situation. So I think India needs to create that culture. We need more kids to, play, have fun, enjoy street football, make them compete. Obviously, you need coaches to train, but after certain age, yes, you need proper academy to go in. You need the proper guidance. You need to know your positioning. You need to know your shape and overall development in terms of weight, your strength, your core, your techniques are important. But till the age of 12, 13, you need to make sure the kids are coming, playing, training, and competing.
We have a small message from one of our users named Dogi. He says, I have played against you once. I was playing for Shimla Youngs and you were playing as a stopper and you lost 1-0.
I can't remember that. Maybe I must have played for United Sikkim because after I retired from international football, then I started my own football club, United Sikkim, and then we went on to, in a year, we went on to qualify for the I-League. But obviously in Sikkim, sponsorship, financial things are very, very difficult. So 2 years we played well. So after that, we've just not been able to manage and sign good players. And now we're just a small club in the hills in Sikkim, but we does still give a platform to a lot of young players there. So even Sandesh Jingam was 17 when he came and played with us.
Exactly.
So he's our United Sikkim boy. So he's doing really well. So we're very proud of him.
And then we have a question from Mr. Rajshekar. So we know that you've got 3 lovely kids. How are you keeping them busy with the lockdown? How is it to be?
Unfortunately, I'm not with my kids. I'm stuck in Siliguri. I'm in a flat here. I've got a flat, but my kids are in Kolkata. We were all in Kolkata. I was returning to Sikkim, Gangtok to get few stuff, come back to Kolkata. But then when I came to Siliguri, then the lockdown happened, and then I could not go to Gangtok. Then when flying back was all the flights were cancelled. So I thought I'll stay in Siliguri. So kids are not with me. I keep speaking to them through video chats mostly every day.
That's lovely. We've got another question is, do you think it's a realistic aim to hope of India, to dream of India qualifying for the World Cup? Do you think it's a legitimate aim?
I think it's not impossible. Everything is possible, and the biggest example today is none other than North Korea. Today, North Korea has qualified and played for the World Cup. And FIFA as well, I think in few years' time, they're also getting more number of teams in the World Cup. So you could actually, from 4 places from Asia, it could go to 8 teams. And, it's just about creating that passion and the culture of football in India. And it's not impossible. It is possible.
Right. Then, so of course, there's a lot of questions right now popping up about. So you recently said that you'd be open to applying for the AIFF president post, and a lot of our comments are focused on that. So would you please do the needful and elaborate a little more on that? What are your ambitions like in terms of AIFF presidency?
No, I think it's something which I would love to consider because there was a question asked to me on a social media, and AIFF president is something I would love to consider in future. I might not be ready right now, but I think that's the position I would love to in future. I've already started working with Sikkim football. Obviously, there are a lot of challenges because just being in Sikkim football, I've come to know it's not easy to handle people around there because you have your ideas, you have your thoughts, and just to make sure that they agree with that. And even people who've not even played a school level are members of the association. And to convince them that this is way we need to look forward is so challenging because, I think they have that typical thought, what they think is right, and to change that, it becomes very, very difficult. And you're dealing with 50, 60-year-old men who's been thinking that concept throughout their entire life. 60 years they've been thinking that way. And to come and change it is challenging. So slowly I think we're trying to change as well. But I think Indian football, president of AIFF is something I would love to do in future, and I would love to try it out. But again, it comes down to votes, politics, and it's not easy. You don't get into that position because of what you can contribute or what the amount of knowledge and exposure you have about the game. It comes down to politics. So I'll have to try and find that out.
Have you set a time frame? Saying X number of years?
Not exactly. I've not said any time frame. So let's see. The right time will come.
If I may say something little off, apna time aayega. I'm just going to say that. The question was Suresh, who says, do you think any Indian footballer, current footballer, can slot into an English club? I think any Indian footballer is ready fit to play for an English club.
I don't see at the moment, I'm not saying in terms of the talent, but the personality. I don't see that personality and that confidence. I know they're confident when they go on the field, but just beyond that as well, you need to have certain thing which, apart from your obviously the ability to play and the way you are, a good footballer. I think to really succeed, especially in English league, I think you need to just not on the ground, off the ground, to that personality, what you have, the confidence, and the kind of atmosphere you create when you are on the field with the players around. I've not seen that kind of player at the moment in India. So English league, I think it's going to be difficult, but I think lower league, I think they should try and think of Belgian league or a French league. And I would suggest to a lot of Indian players right now who are playing not to think of European clubs. You need to try and think of getting into, say, a Chinese league or a Japanese league or a Korean league, Australian league, or a UAE, which is also a good league, UAE, or a Qatar league where you've got a lot of Spanish ex-internationals coming and playing. So I think these are the places where you should try and focus, which is realistic. You get to play as well, and culturally, climate-wise, you can adapt much more easily. So don't try and go directly into Europe, but you can think of this countries which is closer and nearer to India.
Right. We have a question from Stan Ryan, who asks, what are the first three things you would do if you became AIFF president?
First thing is I would try and bring relegation promotion with the league. Maybe if not soon, within a year or two, but maybe next 2-3 years. I think that relegation promotion has to be brought in. I would also make sure that every club has a own grassroots development program, which obviously the AIFF has put a criteria to any clubs there. But I think more on that and trying to see that how the clubs can safeguard and keep their young talents with them and go on to guide. So on the grassroots level. And also I would encourage a lot of the clubs to try and now build also the infrastructure of their own. So that, but most importantly, apart from clubs, I think I would make sure that state associations who does not organize any league, I would not let any of their president or general secretary be in the executive committee of the federation, because at the end it's the state association who needs to work. So I would not let any of those high-profile president, vice president, or general secretary of those particular states to be in the executive committee of the AIFF if they don't do any leagues in their state.
Right. So make those state-run leagues absolutely mandatory. And what are your thoughts on the evolution of the Indian football team? So you've often said that Bob Hutton was the person who shaped the Indian football team. How have you seen the team evolve over the last decade or so? And what kind of impact do you see Igor Stimac having made so far in his brief tenure?
No, I think he's done well because I've really enjoyed the way Indian football team has been playing. If you look at the World Cup qualifiers, I don't think they played badly. They've been unlucky with the results. I think with some more time and with now the younger players, I think getting to mature more, I'm sure he's going to do well. I think the style they need to continue. Obviously, you might get criticized when you don't get results, but if you're playing good football and you're happy with the players' performance and the style, I think he needs to continue with that. So far, I think he's done very, very well with the players how they've been playing. It's just that he's not got results. Obviously, at the end, as a coach, you need results as well. But I would be patient enough to give him time and see how it. But I think the players now are more confident psychologically because during our days I've seen players. They've not had that exposure as much as what the players right now has got. So psychologically, it made a lot of difference to good players when they traveled outside or played any good teams in India. Because now, when you're doing ISL, you're training with some of the best coaches. You're everyday training with some of the best players. So you're mentally prepared and not get worried. In our time, even looking at other team wearing such wonderful kit. Players just got nervous seeing that because you went out with some, short pants and t-shirt which was like not even properly stitched. Your socks were like all hanging down, and you look at other teams, smart, good clothing, and this is fact. It does make a difference psychologically when you're going from the tunnel, and you see all these guys with nice, good, tall kit, and you're like, you're shabby. You just come from somewhere from playing village football, you're just getting into a great stadium. So that psychological thing did also happen. But now players are more confident, I think, and that's a big difference and a very, very good thing.
And I think another big question that's been doing the rounds, and also a lot of them today as well, is Sunil Shetty has been India's sole goal scoring hope for the longest time now. Who do you think can take over the mantle from him? Who after Chetri?
Very, very difficult because sadly, I think if you look at all the records right now with Indian footballers who've been playing, we've not seen many players apart from Sunil scoring the kind of goals. JJ was there once, but JJ also is not young. I think he's as old as Sunil. And with the injury as well, I think it'll become very difficult for JJ to come back into the national squad. So the young players now, sadly, unfortunately, we've not been able to see, the goals the goals actually they've been scoring. So very difficult to say who's going to take it. I'm quite impressed with the boy from Kerala, Blasters. He came from, I think, the Gulf country. What he said?
Sahal Abdul Samad.
Sahal is somebody, obviously he's not out and out striker, but he's one player who can link, can play that number 9 position and get in. Another player who's been very, very impressive has been Ashik. But Ashik is a very hard-working, good, fast, player on the wings. As far as scoring goals, that final of just that getting into right position and scoring goals is something which he'll have to work.
Right. But a word on Chetri, he's been Mr. Consistent for the longest time, has been the best in the ISL, the best Indian striker in the ISL and for the national team.
No doubt, I think he's over the years, he's just been scoring goals for the country. I think he's been great, which is obviously sad to see other players have not been able to, reach there. Because for Indian football, if we have to grow as a footballing nation, we've got to see more players, scoring goals. And sadly, I think it's just been Sunil right now, and Sunil is not getting here. I think he's already 35 plus. So after Sunil, I think there could be a huge gap in that place. But I think Sunil has been one dedicated professional player. I've played with him. He's one guy who would stay there, work extra, do his workout. He's like a machine. He has to go to gym. He makes sure that, So he might not be like, if you compare, Messi and Ronaldo. Messi, we always say that he's a gifted player, and Ronaldo is something which is made himself. Obviously, he's also highly talented. So is Sunil, something like Cristiano. He's talented, but also he's really worked hard to reach where he's kept his fitness. He really looks after his food, workout, and that is actually paid him very, very well. So, yeah.
So would you say he's more like Ronaldo than Messi?
Definitely, yes. I think he's worked very, very hard to reach where he is. He's been a thorough professional. So like if you compare, I.M. Bijan is more natural player. But look at Sunil is a thorough professional with he's talented plus he's also worked hard. He goes to gym, maintain his body.
All right, we've only got a last few questions before we wrap up. So we have a question from Mr. Rajshekar, which says, Mother's Day is around the corner. What's your favorite dish cooked by her? And would you like to tell us anything special about her to all of us listening today?
Dish, anything what she makes is always special because mother's food is a mother's food. I think anybody would say that. There's nothing, one particular dish is you can name it. So yeah, but I've been obviously my mom has been a very she's gone through all that difficult. She comes from a very small village, so she's seen that difficult times. And they've always been into agriculture farming. So our family comes from agriculture background. So yeah, I think she's never. I don't know if she's ever come and watched any of my matches as well. But till today, I think she still dictates what I should do, I should not do. So yeah, but I try and do as much as I can what she says. Sometimes, obviously, it's because of the generation gap. Thoughts and ideas are very different from what of mine. So I do try and not make her upset. I kindly do the things I do for myself. So not take her advice completely sometimes, which is I think something which is not possible to kind of advise if she gives. But overall, I think she is lovely, and any mother would always think of her child in a positive way and in a nicer way. So yeah.
But if you have to name one dish of hers that you like the most, what would that be? One dish.
One dish. I guess momos.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got many fans watching right now. All right. Another question I want to ask you is, there have been so many sports biopics that have been made, stories in the lives of sports persons. Is there something in the pipeline for you as well? Have you got any offers for a biopic?
I have signed with the producer Anand ji about the movie. So yeah, so now my thing is just to sign and tell him you can. So he's I think gonna decide now how and when and how. But I have had a discussion and I have had a contract signed with him.
But who would you want to do? What do you think?
I would not say any name, but at least the actor should know how to play football. That's very, very important.
All right, fair enough. But do you have any favorites who you think would do well? We've seen Johnny acting.
No, not exactly. I think this is just somebody who can play football, who's played football in his school days, college days, and who knows about football and has the technique to kick the ball. That's okay. I think it's up to the people who are making the movies to decide.
There are a lot of interesting questions about your academy. So can you tell us a little bit about your academy, Bhaichung Bhutia Football School? I think so. You've got centers in 21 cities in India.
Yes. So I started Bhaichung Bhutia Football Schools when I was about to retire, and first initially we started was with Carlos Corrêa, who was Portugal World Cup squad manager plus Manchester United assistant coach with Alex Ferguson. He was also Real Madrid coach. So we tied up with Carlos Corrêa's Football Academy in Portugal. That's how we started. Obviously, our main idea was to make sure that kids get to come and enjoy, train, compete, and go on to become professional footballers. Guide them through their steps, through every step when they reach certain age, and also make sure that kids get opportunity to train under good coaches and come and play and compete. Because a lot of kids in the city areas don't get places to go and play, a team to compete with, train under good coaches. So that was the main thing, and also at the same time make as many kids come and play football was our main motive. We've been one of the biggest football, grassroots football program in India today, and we already have 8 or 9 players in different age group that went to play for India in different age groups. So in very short span of limited infrastructure, we've been able to achieve that.
And a lot of questions about scholarships and everything. I think would that be the best? You just check out your website for scholarships and for details on that.
So what we've done is we've also started a residential academy with BVFS now. So we've got one in Gurgaon and one in Kerala in Calicut. So this one is to make sure that a lot of kids, who wants to be a professional player, but at the same time, a lot of parents don't want them to miss out on their education. So that's where those kids can come and be a professional footballer as well as not miss out on education. So we've started Residential Academy.
So for those asking, Mr. Bhaichung is currently in Siliguri. He was supposed to go to Gangtok in Sikkim, and his family is in Kolkata. So he's been stuck in Siliguri in an apartment. He's been there for the last 20 odd days.
So that was a chat with Mr. Bhaichung Bhutia. I really hope you enjoyed it. We've got many more interviews and exclusives coming your way, so do watch these spaces. And if you haven't already followed Sportstar Talk Time, make sure you click that subscribe button. We're available on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Until our next episode featuring another illustrious sports person, it's goodbye from all of us at Sportstar. Stay home and stay safe.